Hello everybody, this is Manus and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra metagame breakdown. I'm a little late again this week, so sorry about that, but we have some more data thanks to the guys over at Mobalytics HQ to dive into and take a look what the metagame is evolving into, since this week we're going to have a much better idea of what the post-patch metagame will look long-term compared to last week. Anyway, before we dive into the data, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button down below, turn on the notification icon if you haven't yet to not miss out on future content and help support the channel. And before we get into the content, I'll quickly want to introduce you to today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, one of the leading virtual private network providers out there. A virtual private network keeps your data secure and yourself anonymous while using the internet. NordVPN comes with super fast servers, allows you to unlock your favorite entertainment websites like Netflix. They provide a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also have an included cybersecurity suite, which acts as an ad blocker to boot. They don't lock any of your data, provide a 24/7 customer support, and you can use it on up to 6 simultaneous connections, so one account covers most or all of your electronic devices. And most importantly, they don't have any bandwidth limit, so you can use it non-stop without it getting throttled, which is particularly important for heavy users like us. It also won multiple awards and comes highly recommended by top technology experts. So if you're still surfing online without a VPN, now is the time to change that. Get NordVPN now, 70% off for a 3-year plan, including 1 month extra for free using the code MANUS or the personalized link in the description down below. And now on to today's content. Alright, so let's take a look at the decks. As usual, we're gonna dive into the top 5 most played decks and the top 5 highest win rate decks of decks that have 500 or more games played as a criteria. I changed something for sort of dramatic effect, and that I should have done in the past already. I'm starting from the 5th place deck going all the way to the 1st place deck rather than the other way around, which makes a bit more sense and makes it a little more interesting than just, starting with the best performing or most popular deck and going down to the sort of less interesting decks potentially. Anyway, coming in 5th place this week is Spooky Karma as a bigger archetype, but the standout list is actually Karma Spiders. I'm not a big fan of lumping these two together because they're kind of different. One is more of a proactive, mid-rangey type deck that still has a lot of the Karma value play, while the other one is a much more purely reactive control deck. So these are lumped together. If you separate them, both of them probably wouldn't make it in right now. Not 100% sure. Or Karma Spiders might make it in and the other one wouldn't, because the Karma Spiders is the predominant version. As we can see, if we look at the sheets, which I will, as usual, both link in the description down below if you want to dive deeper into the data. For example, the most popular Karma Spiders list has a win rate of 68% over 145 games, while the overall Spooky Karma archetype, which includes both Karma variants, only has a win rate of 59%, which is it's still pretty good, but it shows that there is potentially a fairly big discrepancy and that Karma Spiders is a better deck. Also, keep in mind the data set is small enough that it could be coming from one player and maybe a particularly good player or one that has had a high sort of an upswing. So take it with a grain of salt, but the discrepancy between the overall data and the partial data set of this most popular list that we are just looking at here is big enough to give us an idea that this version of the sort of Spooky Karma Shadow Isles deck might be notably better than the old one, which is also the sentiment that I have been heard echoing from other higher level players. So if you want to play Karma Shadow Isles, this is what you should be playing most likely. There's maybe still some room to experiment within the archetype, but probably not a whole lot. Most of the slots kind of like determine themselves, so there's not much room for tuning or experimentation really. And in 4th place, we have another Spiders deck there are a lot of new sort of spiders-based mid-range decks, thanks to the Brood Awakening buff, which was one of the standout buffs coming in the patch. Here, Enduring Spiders, this is a bit more mid-rangey and bigger version. It even runs 2 Ruination, runs additional bigger champions, and issues the more aggressive stuff like Callista, the Butcher Keeper package, or stuff like that. Notably more popular than the Karma Spiders for some reason, but also performing notably worse. Overall, not that much. It's at 57.8, but then again, if we clear up the spooky Karma data and take out all the like non-spider stats, then the discrepancy in win rate is probably more noticeable. Like if we look at the specific list for this Enduring Spiders, the most popular one, the one that we are looking at right now, over 182 games, only has a win rate of 56%, so lower than the overall archetype, but not to a point where it's probably just variance, more likely so than that this list is notably worse than other lists. But it might be worse than the ideal version, so this might not be the ideal version of the archetype, which I honestly wouldn't be too surprised. Not a big fan of Omen Hawk, for example. The deck just isn't super unit dense, so playing an Omen Hawk and maybe not even getting a buffed unit for like the next 2 draw steps, or some of the units you buff don't even matter that much. Buffing a day who endure doesn't really do much. Buffing a Hapless Aristocrat is marginal. Buffing Archer and Sentry is fine, but also not that great, since they have high attack and low health, so adding a point of health still doesn't do a whole lot, and adding more attack to his 3-1 has a lot of diminishing returns, which is why I never played the card in this deck. I think the card is actually really bad in the deck. The deck is also like almost 50% spells. So yeah, not that many targets. A lot of the targets aren't even good. Buffing a Tryndamere is also not a big deal. So once you discount all the like non-targets or marginal, low impact or irrelevant targets, there's not a whole lot left to hit. So wouldn't recommend playing Omen Hawk, but it seems like this archetype has some potential. Not sure where it's gonna stack up. I would guess it's more of a tier 2 deck than a tier 1 deck, but we'll see about that long term. Anyway, on to the third most popular archetype, which this week is Karma Ezreal. Karma Ezreal coming in 3rd place with almost 1,300 games. The deck burst onto the scene by a Polish player hitting rank 1 with it, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, like before the patch hit even. I keep forgetting his name, but check him out. You should find him and his deck list on Twitter on stuff like Runeterra decks or the likes if you want to check him out specifically. This is probably his recent list or very close anyway. This has been the most popular list in the dataset. It comes in at almost 64% win rate, so pretty high win rate over close to 200 games. The overall archetype clocks in at 59, so there might be weaker versions, there might be variants. It's hard to say. It's in a like discrepancy range where it could still be variants or could already be an indicator that there is multiple versions, or it maybe is just like these like 191 games are from a particularly good pilot of the archetype, while the overall dataset has more players that aren't as good. So a couple of things that could contribute to this. Overall, this deck seems to have quite a lot of potential. I've been really impressed by Yon facing it and playing it myself. Karma basically replaces Progress Day in this version of Ezreal as sort of a more proactive and more versatile card advantage engine than Progress Day. There are a couple of choices here that I personally find a bit questionable. Still not a big fan of only 2 Get Excited in these Ezreal decks. Key Guardian, don't know about that, a bit skeptical. Health Potion is fine for like the Ezreal mirrors, but I think I would potentially look into some Spirit's Refuges, which, while more expensive, are more flexible and allow you to play a bit more of a tempo sort of echo control-y proactive game. but they are not as good against other Ezreal decks, so I can see just Health Potion being necessary and Health Potion being really, really good with Karma in the Ezreal mirror. And then there's this Jurig Rummage package, which I'm not entirely sold on yet, and I'm very skeptical of only 2 Pickpockets. The card's really good, and I think if you play it, you always play 3, so I would probably, I don't know, cut like the Key Guardian maybe for it. And playing a deck like this without Solitary Monk is at least suspicious to me. The card is just really, really powerful, very low opportunity cost in a deck like this, and the Heimerdinger deck is structured very similarly and plays 3 of them, so why would you not want to play it in this deck where the damage arguably matters even more because it makes it easier for your Ezreal or just Karma plus burn spells to finish off your opponent. So I have been starting to experiment with Monk in the list. If you caught me streaming it or caught my post on Twitter or other social media about the list, I will keep experimenting with the archetype because I've been surprisingly impressed by it, and it plays pretty nice, and it plays in a bit more sort of proactive, aggro control-y way than some of the other takes, like the old Freljord version, which is really nice, so it's more up my alley and more enjoyable to me. This might turn out to be the new best Ezreal version, but we'll see that down the line. Currently, it's not the most popular deck, and also not the most popular Ezreal version, actually, as we will see. So stay tuned. In second place, second most popular archetype at 1,380 games played, is the good old Demacia midrange, built around Bannerman, Fiora, and Garen. This deck was originally built by BruisedByGod. Not sure if this is specifically his latest version. It basically changed the second deny for 1 Vanguard Sergeant, which is something I'm not super happy with, since I think 2 deny is a very good number and covers the weakness of the deck to sort of decks that go bigger and grindier with Ruination and stuff really, really well. Just hitting that Ruination with a deny often is enough to just win the game. And 1 deny just seems pretty light to me, so I would stick to the 2 deny. I think BBG currently has moved on to messing with other decks, but the deny swap for Rekindler was his adjustment to the Rekindler nerf. And the deck is doing really, really well. Still very popular, one of the tier 1 decks right now, so keep that in mind when building, tuning, and picking your decks for ranked. This is something you have to be able to beat. Noteworthy here is there is another version that is splashing House Spiders from Noxus, which is doing notably worse than this version, which I'm not surprised by. I don't think the card is a great addition. The deck doesn't really need it. It's adding an aggro card to a more mid-range deck just for like some synergy with the Bannerman, which is really not needed. Bannerman is good the way it is, and something like Deny just adds a ton more than House Spider. There's also a version that plays Lucian instead of Fiora, plays Radiant Strikes, is a bit more aggressive, and also plays Omen Hawk as its splash by 6-0. That seems a lot more sound than the House Spider take, if you ask me, but still not too impressed by it. Omen Hawk is decent, but I think the deck has really high rate, high stat units, so the impact of Omen Hawk's buff isn't as big as it could be in other cases like Elusives. And yeah, so and of course there's the more aggressive version that isn't as high curve with Zed that is leaning into even more aggression, but that lately has seemingly fallen off the radar a bit, and this version is kind of cementing itself, which is not too surprising to me. I have never been that impressed by the Zed version. It's kind of more high rolly, plays a bunch of cards that are very hit or miss, like Relentless Pursuit that I kind of can be win more or blank depending on the situation. This is just a very well-rounded, robust, high card quality deck. Like every card in the deck is just at a premium rate, premium for its curve spot, making the deck play really well and really consistently. And the most popular deck this week is, in first place, Nox Ezreal. Some people like Swim have been predicting this. The interesting question is it the most popular righteously, or is it the most popular because that's what people like Swim and other more influential people in the community have been predicting and have been pushing as what they expect to be the most popular deck after the patch? It's always kind of hard to say because we've seen plenty of impact from sort of predictions and statements or choices by people like Swim. So it might be, its popularity might be inflated by the fact that Swim has been talking about how it might become the most popular deck or the most popular or best Ezreal version going forward. It's notably more popular than the Bannerman deck right now. I'm not sold on it yet. Like, the deck is pretty solid, but I've tried both decks a bit, and the Karma version felt a bit more powerful to me. Could be wrong though, but in terms of performance, the Karma Ezreal version has a much better win rate as well than this version, indicating that my impression and assumption might be right there. But then again, this is also the most popular deck, which might hurt its win rate both in terms of mirror match data, because keep in mind this data is not cleaned off mirror matches, unfortunately, because they can't do that with the data they have. Might take some time to sort this out, and maybe we'll see a shift more towards Karma Ezreal becoming more popular and this dropping in popularity. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, and if I had to pick, I would lean towards the Karma Ezreal list. It just seems to add more power and more card quality to the archetype, while this just kind of plays a bunch of marginal low impact cards and has a lot less staying power and is a lot weaker later in the game. But yeah, this is the most popular deck. 2 Ezreal variants in the top 5 most popular, so you better be ready to beat Ezreal and Demacia decks on ladder currently, otherwise you're not going to do a whole lot of winning probably. And the third big component of ladder right now, as we saw, were the 2 Spiders archetypes. So Spiders, Ezreal, and Demacia, Bannerman are like the 3 big flavors right now that you gotta be prepared for. And now we're gonna move on to the top 5 highest win rate decks. So let's take a look what's been winning the most last week. First off, in 5th place, at a pretty high 59% win rate, like the win rates for the top 5 are notably higher than in the past. The 5th place starting at 59% is pretty huge. In the past, that has been somewhere above 55%, 56, 57. So 59 being the lowest in the top 5 is pretty impressive. And it's Karma Ezreal with a really good win rate. So, as I mentioned earlier, notably higher win rate than the Nox Ezreal deck, which didn't even make it remotely close to the top 5 with less than 55% win rate. Like, the Nox Ezreal deck has a win rate similar to the Freljord Ezreal deck, while the Karma Ezreal deck has almost 5 or like 4.5% higher win rate, which is really impressive. And given that their popularity isn't actually that far apart, we can't really blame the Nox Ezreal results on popularity, people being more prepared for it, mirror matches and stuff like that, when the difference in games played is like, what, 300-400 games? Like, there's, I think, 25% maybe fewer games, but still like a lot of Karma Ezreal games, given that it ranked in 3rd most popular deck. So there's definitely a notable difference in performance here between the 2 archetypes, and if you want to play Ezreal, that's the way to go. In 4th place, we have the Karma Spiders that we talked about. Once again, emphasis here, stick to the Karma Spiders version, don't play the old Karma Control. 59.3%, on par with the other Karma deck, the Karma Ezreal deck we just looked at, very close together, the 2. Then in 3rd place, we have the good old Kinou Elusives, a bit of a typo there, I forgot the K. So yeah, good old Elusives still going strong. Not as popular right now, didn't make it into the top 5 in popularity. In fact, it ended up in 7th place in terms of popularity. Same as Burn, which has been sticking around for a while, but is slowly dropping off again. Win rate is down to like 55% this week from doing really well last week. Just like I said, post-patch, deck usually does well, then kind of falls off. Also fell off in popularity. So Burn in 7th place, Elusives in Burn in 6th place, Elusives in 7th place in terms of popularity. But unlike Burn, Elusives still going strong, 60% win rate, about the same as last week. Deck seems still pretty well positioned, or really well positioned again. So if you're looking to dust off your old Elusives and just crack some skulls, now is a good time. Then again, when hasn't there been a good time? There has been a bit of a time in between, but most of the time has been a good choice, and seems like even with the nerf to Navori Conspirator, this hasn't changed too much. So if you like Elusives or you just want to win, still a great choice. Still one of the highest win rate decks, but only in 3rd place this week. In 2nd place, we have the Demacia midrange deck that I talked about. It's not only popular, it's also righteously popular because it has really good win rate, about the same as Elusives, 60.3. So we technically have kind of like a top 3 this week, in the sense that 2nd and 3rd place are almost tied in win rate, and 4th and 5th place are almost tied in win rate. So it's kind of like more of a matter of preference, which of the archetypes you like more. So if you like Elusives more, play Elusives. If not, play Demacia midrange. Both are gonna do about the same for you right now, it seems. And then in 1st place, most popular archetype of last week, most successful archetype of last week has been the new Corina control. The original deck was built by someone on Reddit. I unfortunately don't know who the original creator of the deck is. The original version was championless. I've been facing it occasionally over the last couple of weeks, even before the patch. And since after the patch, it kind of burst onto the scene big by Alanza picking it up, revamping it, adding a bit more of a spider package by adding a champion in the form of Elise, and trying to refine the archetype and going for his favorite thing, trying to hit rank 1 again. And yeah, deck has been pretty impressive actually when I faced it. The original version had like 6 1-drops, Aristocrat and Warden Spray and stuff like that, and a bit more sort of cute marginal stuff, while this is just opting for more high impact, higher card quality. And sort of the win condition against slower decks is Ledros spam plus a potential atrocity. Corina, since her nerf a while ago, going from 8 to 9, is still a really powerful card. Really scary. The fact that she deals damage to the Nexus as well makes her actually like close out games pretty quickly and surprisingly. So yeah, if you're looking for a new control deck, this is the way to go. 56.5% is a super impressive win rate, especially given that it's over more than 600 games. The specific list we are looking at, let me check real quick. The specific list we are looking at has the same win rate basically as the overall archetype, even though it only is over 180 games. So the other like more than 400 games turn out to be a similar win rate. So this is basically the deck to beat, or like rather the deck to play, actually, not the deck to beat. The deck to play right now. It seems to do really well against the metagame. 65.5% is the highest win rate, I believe, that we had in the top 5 best performing decks so far. So this is really one of those standout decks that if you want to climb and crush on ladder, this is your deck. Currently, keep an eye open for people adapting for it. So if you start struggling and you're confident in how you're piloting the deck, it might be that people are adapting to it and it's losing some of its grip on the metagame. But last week, this deck has been just rolling face and just mopping up mopping up the metagame basically. So yeah, a pretty sweet new deck. Still nice to see new archetypes emerging and a lot of variety on ladder, so that's pretty great. I really think Riot did a great job with this set 1, but I think we're soon approaching the state of a set where people could really use new content. That's just kind of the nature of card games. After a couple of weeks or months, people have kind of played enough with a set and gone through all the iterations, especially in an online game where things get solved a lot quicker and everything kind of goes a lot faster than in paper card games, where we could use new content. So curious to see when we get to see the next set. There's already some assets in the client that have been data mined, but we don't have any official announcement even to when we will get new content. But yeah, I hope we get an announcement soon to see when we can expect the first new set of cards. All right. What do you think of the metagame right now? What do you think of the decks that we looked at? Let me know in the comments what you think, how you feel about the metagame. Any constructive feedback towards this series or my content in general, or ideas for future content that you would like to see is always appreciated. And yeah, don't forget to check out the sponsor from earlier. The code and link are in the description down below for the NordVPN deal to keep you secure and anonymous online. And yeah, if you enjoy the content, hit the like button, subscribe for more, turn on notification icon to not miss out when new content is out. And of course, if you want to help, make sure to tell your friends, leave a comment, turn off your ad block to help support your favorite creators here on YouTube making free content for you, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's it again for this time. I'm your host, Manus, and I'll see you next time.